Hello folks. So this video is a continuation of pods demo. There was the first part where I showcased some demos related to Kubernetes pods, and due to some technical issues my laptop was getting slow and I had to stop the recording and do a second part, demo 2. So let's get started. I am going to record this terminal session separately using ASCII Cinema. Um, cool. We are recording, and let me get into my Tmux session and mouse mode. Okay. So in the previous video, we saw the demo for these stuff, and in this video, we'll be seeing the demo for this stuff. So my Kubernetes cluster is running. So K is short for kubectl. So kubectl get pods, kubectl get nodes. So okay, so I have 3 nodes properly running, and my pods are properly running. Let's clear the screen and let's look at what we were actually doing in the first demo. So we were talking about containers restarting in a pod. So so the reasons for container restarting could be multiple. One thing could be just manually run a kill command in the container for the main process and it will die. Um, Also, if you look at the real world possibilities, because kill is not something someone is going to do unless they want to do it for some reason intentionally. But usually, the other cases where the main process could die is because of some crash. For example, your server gets some request that it could not process, probably a malicious request or some valid request, but for some bug in the code, there was a crash in the server. It could probably go down. Um, let's actually simulate that, right? So I am going to be watching the pods uh, in wide mode, and I'm also going to be checking the logs. So kubectl logs -f Dobby1. So we are looking at the logs of Dobby. Let's get into this pod, execute into the pod, utils, and access Dobby, right? So 10.200 037. So there's an endpoint at Dobby to actually crash Dobby. It's running at port 444. And so the endpoint is actually a put request method endpoint. You can see over here. And oh, it's actually /control/crash. So /control/crash is the endpoint, and if you hit it, uh, you can see on the sorry, I put 2 slashes down, so it's a 404. One slash, and as you can see, you asked me to do so killing myself. So and here you can see that there is an error, and the restart count was previously 4, and the status has gone into a crash loop back off. Okay. So as you can see, first of all, that in the previous demo, you would have seen that whenever there was an error or some kill command being run, the container still restarted. I mean, someone started off the container again. So Kubernetes is helping you keep your application up and running no matter what by restarting the application. So something similar is happening over here, but I think after 3 restarts, the time for okay, yeah, it has come. So the time taken for Kubernetes to again start it off has been a bit more. but yeah, it has restarted the container and it's running, and the restart count has increased. So this clearly shows how your application is resilient to failures, even if you just go and kill the whole process, right? So in this case, I killed the process using a endpoint, and as you can see, once it crashes the thing, it just doesn't even give a reply. So Dobby is a good service to run in your Kubernetes and try such stuff, because it provides endpoints to do stuff like this. Um, so the next thing I wanted to show was how to pass environment variables. So surely if you're doing microservices or even just like monolith, whatever, you'll have some configurations for your service, and you can pass configurations in multiple ways. For backend services, I have noticed that configurations come in the form of arguments or flags. So when you run the backend service in a command, uh, in the command of the command to start the service, the other way would be a file, config file, and then the last thing could be a environment variable, which is a recommended method as part of the 12-factor app. So now we're going to check out this method alone, environment variables. So let's get started on what to do for putting environment variables, right? So I'll go into the demo folder, and let's copy the simple pod with env, and let's open this up here. Simple pod with env, and I'm going to say Dobby with env1. I'll say Dobby with env is happening. It is still going to be Dobby, but this time I'm going to actually mention the environment variables. So to understand how to write this YAML, the structure, the recommended way is to check the docs, and you can check the docs from your terminal too, using this command called kubectl-explain. Let me explain. Mention the resource type, which is pod, and then so if you do this, I'll just do a less. You can see the description, the kind, the version to be used, and everything. And this is what goes into the YAML. So this is the version, the kind, so metadata and other fields will come under fields. So even API version and kind can be seen here. Yeah, the value for those can be found here. And as you can see, there is metadata, spec, and there's something called status. So status is something maintained by the Kubernetes API server, and it's not something you send to the Kubernetes API server. Instead, it is something maintained by Kubernetes API server, and only Kubernetes API will change it and stuff like that. Like change it, maintain it, and all that. So it's a read-only field. So we have seen metadata, and we are also checking out spec now. We have only seen some parts of the spec. There is a lot to it to spec. So now to actually see what goes inside the spec, other than seeing that this is what the spec is about, and there is some links and all, you can quit and let me just say dot spec. So if you do this, so it will take the pod type and it will get into the field spec, so dot spec. So as you can see, the resource is spec over here now. And if you notice, you will have the thing that we use field containers, and there are a lot more things. It's like this keeps going on. So we'll probably come back to this, if we have some use case for this. Currently, we are not going to check out all these fields. It's a lot, and instead we'll be checking out containers field. for which you have to do dot containers. So now we are inside containers. So what is the field for every element, which is a container? So these are the fields for every element. So we have seen the elements fields, containers fields, which is name and image. You can probably search for it. So here is the name, and the image is here. So we are going to be using the env this time because environment variables. So list of environment variables to be set in the container, and it cannot be updated. So how should it look? Env, let's get to that also. So you can actually do this containers.env, other field. So as you can see, it mentions that you have to mention the provide the environment variable name, for example, like this, and then you have to mention the value. And there's one more thing called value from which we'll probably check later in some other demo. So now we can just quit this and put the value. Let's just put some, you know, and by the way, this is actually a array of objects. So you can mention multiple environment variables. So I'll just put some dummy stuff for now. If we need some real stuff, we'll probably come back to it. So let's see how this comes inside the pod, right? So kubectl apply -f simple pod with env. So we have created our pod. So the pod is running. Let's get inside this pod and see if the environment variable has been set. Right? I'll do exit pod, Dobby with env, bash, and let's do env. That's a lot of envs. Let's just do echo dummy. Cool. So that's how you actually pass environment variables into your container. And so how do you mention ports? So if you notice, till now, so I have shown you environment variables and everything, how to inject. And Dobby is a backend service running at a port, listening at a port, listening for requests. I'm already able to hit Dobby with its IP. So, and port 444. So, does it mean that even if I have not told to expose this port is exported, like, exposed. So port 444, like nowhere in this pod YAML, I mentioned, port 4444 has to be exposed. I didn't mention that in this YAML, but I am still able to access Dobby service at port 4444. So what's going on over here? So let's check actually what Kubernetes has to say about this. kubectl explain pod.spec.containers. Let's look at the containers, like each containers fields. I'm going to search for port. Okay. So there's a field called ports for a container. So it mentions that it's the list of ports to expose. The weird part is we are already not mentioning this, but our port 4444 is exposed. So here, if you read more, exposing a port here gives the system additional information about the network connections a container uses, but is primarily informational. So it's mostly informational. So not specifying a port here does not prevent the port from being exposed. So in our case, this is what is happening. So we are not specifying a port, but it does not prevent us from exposing the port because it is exposed. Any port which is listening on the default 0.0.0.0 address inside a container will be accessible from the network. So our Dobby is actually running at this 0.0.0.0. So it is exposed, but to provide additional information to the system and for anyone looking at the pod to understand that, okay, so these are the ports that the pod is listening at. it's better to provide ports. It's similar to how you have the expose instruction in the Docker file, where it's mostly information and not to tell that expose it. It's just information. Even if you don't provide it, it will be exposed. Similar to that, it's over here. So let's look at the ports field, what it has. So in container, for every container, you can mention multiple ports. So it has multiple fields over here. So we're just going to go ahead and look at just one, or yeah, just one field should be enough, I think. Which is the container port. So you mentioned the port, that's it. So the other fields, probably I can talk about two of them. I'm not going to talk about host type or host port, but I'll talk about name. So name is just giving a name to your port. So for example, you already know, like, you can give meaningful names to your ports. This way people can understand what's going on at the process running at that port. Like, what is this process running at this port? So for 4444, I can say service. Let's say I have a separate endpoint, like separate port at which I am exposing the metrics of the service. I can actually name the port as metrics and give the metrics port number. Similarly, if you have a service that provides HTTP, HTTPS, gRPC, and a metrics endpoint, you can name it accordingly. You can say HTTP, HTTPS, gRPC, and metrics. So it is just to give a meaningful name to your port. So that's one thing. And protocol. So if you mention the protocol, it will be easier for the user looking at the information to understand. Okay, so this is the protocol that's being used. So if it's a DNS service, you could probably mention things like UDP. So in our case, it's HTTP, which runs on top of TCP protocol. So, and the default is TCP, so I'm not going to mention it. So I'm just going to put, I'll put this in the simple part itself. Ports, it's an array, so every element will have the fields that we just saw. This is one is container port, and the name is, let's just call it HTTP, right? So, yep, I think that's good. But can we actually update this field? Let's see, right? I'll come out of this part. Kubectl apply. Simple. Simple pod. Right? So if you notice, my pod is actually already running. Dobby 1. I'm trying to update it with this, field with this field ports and mention the ports. So let's see what it has to say for the update. Okay, so it tells me pod Dobby1 is invalid. Spec forbidden pod updates may not change fields other than spec containers image, spec init containers image, tolerations, active deadline seconds. So it's saying that we cannot change this field. So it's forbidden to change this field. So what I'm going to do is actually delete the pod, or let's just do one more thing, right? Let's just get rid of this and create one more. It's fine. I can create one more. Let's just copy this and copy this. Save simple pod with ports. It's fine. I have things separately now, so it's good. So let's apply that now. So pod is actually mostly immutable. It has only few mutable fields. So I probably showed the demo for that too. Can be updated. Only some fields can be updated. Mutable fields. So this is something that I showed. Example is uh, ports field in a container in a pod. Okay, so we are going to apply the new part, or the thing that you have to do is delete your pod and then create the Darby1 pod again, which I didn't want to do. So with ports, okay. So it's giving me the same error because Kubernetes understands resources based on names, and I gave the same name to simple pod with ports. I just changed the file name. That the file name doesn't matter for Kubernetes. It's just the contents of Darby with ports. Okay, cool. So I can watch. So it's creating the container and it's running. So to look at this, thing, you can do kubectl get pod Darby with ports 1 -o YAML. So this is a new thing that I'm showing you. -hyphen output YAML. That's what it's short for. Hyphen O is short for a -hyphen output. So you can actually print your output in different formats. One is the wide, to show you the table in a wide format instead of a short format. The others are YAML, JSON, and there is more actually. You can probably explore on that. I'm just going to show you YAML. Let's just put less over here. So if you notice, this will exactly have the YAML that we have over here, but it will have a lot more other information too that Kubernetes API server inserted or injected. So if you notice, our spec is over here. There is metadata like some unique ID linking to itself, resource version, namespace, name, labels, creation, and there is a special annotation which you can probably go read about, last applied configuration. And you can also notice the status, and it tells about the container statuses for each and every container. So let's go and check the containers spec, and there's only one container and you can notice the port over here, right? So that's the thing that we added, and if you notice, the protocol has been added by default, TCP. We didn't have it over here. We only had name and port, container port. So that's how we mentioned ports for informational purposes. And what about multiple containers in a pod, right? So two pods, two containers. So I have here a pod with two containers. So in the containers field, I have two elements. One is the same old Darby, and I have actually put an Nginx over here with no configuration. Usually you put a sidecar container, that is one main container doing some main functionality. In this case, I'll mention that Darby is the main thing, and a sidecar container or a side functionality container which provides side functionality for the main application or main container. Side functionality could be many, for example, proxying to the main application. So in this case, Nginx can be a proxy, but I have not configured it really. I'm just simply running an Nginx with no configuration, default configuration. So, or it could be simply like a uh, reloading configuration file for the main application. So you can actually you know put a configuration file in the other container. So there is a way to do that. I'm not going to be explaining how to. So you can actually put a file in the main container from your sidecar container and reload the configuration of the main application so that the main application can behave accordingly. Other use cases that I've seen are more advanced. For example, there's a concept called service discovery. People use sidecar containers to help with the concept of service discovery. Or the proxy that I mentioned, right? Proxy into main application. People use it for the concept of service mesh. So you can probably go check these out if you are interested. So currently I'm just going to run this uh, pod with 2 containers and see what happens, right? So we are running this pod Dobby with Nginx, and it says ready 0 by 2. It means 0 containers out of 2 containers are ready. 0 is ready out of 2. Okay, so 2 containers out of 2 are ready. So that's what that ready means over here. 1 container out of total 1 container is ready. So the meaning of ready, we'll probably look at it in a different video. So for now, just assume what the usual ready means, right? It's ready to do stuff. It's ready. It's up and running. So now we can probably get inside this container exec pod and Dobby with Nginx. If you notice, this time I'm also getting another drop down to tell which container to get into. So the exec command this time takes up the pod name, kubectl exec namespace default, the pod name, and it also asks which container do you want to get into. So I'll probably show you by typing this out. You don't need the namespace actually. So previously we used to do this, right? So if you notice, if I try that, it will tell me defaulting container name to Dobby. So use kubectl describe to see all the containers in this part. So if I do, I have to actually do interactive or standard input and then TTY. So it actually defaulted the container name to Dobby. So if you notice, you could actually get into particularly one container. So this time it was defaulting into Dobby container. So the meaning of this is that you cannot say execute into a pod, because pod is actually more like a logical thing. But actually the actual running thing is the container, example Docker container. So is the container, and you can only get inside a container, and getting inside a pod is a very vague term and not very specific, and probably not correct, because pod is not actually a running thing. The containers inside the pod are the actual running thing. Pod is more logical concept here. So here when we said Dobby with Nginx, it mentions that I am going to consider that you mean Dobby, and I'm going to just get in. My guess is it's because Dobby is the first container that we mentioned here in the list of containers. So to particularly mention which container to get into, you can say -c, or I'm guessing the full form is -f container. So and to get into Nginx, you will mention the Nginx container name, which is this. But if you notice, it's hard to find out which container you are in by just using the prompt, because prompt will only tell you the username and then the host name, which is the pod name. So host name and both of them will be the same. So I'll just put hash and do Dobby. Host name will be the same. So the idea is that pods, the containers inside a pod, share the host name, also share the pod IP, and share port numbers. So if Dobby is listening at port 4444, the other containers cannot use port 4444, in this case Nginx. So I'm just going to go into one of them. Let's just go into Dobby itself. And what I'm going to do is, this time I'm going to kill a container again using kill. I'll do psox. As you can see, I can only see Dobby, I can't see Nginx. I'm just going to do kill one, and that terminated. So if you notice, it says 1 out of 2. So Nginx is running, but Dobby failed and it came back now. And the restart count shows 1. So it shows the number of restarts any of the containers had. So if there's one container and it restarted 5 times, it will show 5. Even when there's 2 containers, one of the containers restarted once, it will show 1 over here. So it doesn't show exactly which container is restarting, it will just show restart count. And it will take into consideration all the containers. So let's get into Nginx container and restart it. psaux. Oh, there's no ps command. Okay. I can probably check the /proc. So /proc. So I think one is the command which we can confirm using cat and see. Oh no, not cat. Let me just do this. ls-al exit. exit. So as you can see, /proc is actually a virtual file system that tells you the processes that are running in the Linux system. So it contains directories based on the process ID and mode. So process ID 1 can be accessed. The information about process ID 1 can be accessed using /proc/1, and the executable or the binary that is running in process ID 1 can be accessed using /proc/1/exe, which is in this case the Nginx. So let's just kill the Nginx using kill1 and it's dead. So if you notice, again only one container is ready, in this case Dobby, and the other is dead, and it's back again. So both of them are ready and the restart count is 2. So as you can see, that's how 2 containers are going to run, and we can also get inside one container, and I'll go into Dobby, and actually so I am inside Dobby and I can actually access Nginx, and so I don't have a curl. I'll just have to do an apt update. Apt install curl. Yep. Done. Cool. Done. So we have curl now. So I'm just going to do a curl, and I'm inside the Dobby container, if you remember. So I'm going to do curl localhost. So it's going to access by default using HTTP and by default using the port 80, which is the default port for HTTP servers, or the standard default port for HTTP servers. And it's going to give me the Nginx containers response. So the Nginx container, which is running the Nginx at port 80, is responding. So curl localhost. So localhost is pointing to the pod IP or all the containers inside the pod. So, and I can also access double for, which is the Dobby thing. So I can see the version. So I can also get inside Nginx pod, and I don't know if there's curl. Okay, there's curl here. I can do localhost over here also. Yeah, inside the Nginx. If you notice, I am inside Nginx container, and from Nginx container I can also access Dobby container. So yep, that's how you do things over there. So that was multiple containers inside a pod. So the next thing I wanted to show was, can you access pod IP from outside the cluster? So currently I was inside the containers in a pod and accessing the pod IP. So also I'll also show one more thing. So this is the Dobby with Nginx pod IP, right? Even from outside, let's execute into utils pod. Even from outside, you can actually access port 80. This is going to Nginx, and you can access port 4444 and access the DOM. And now, if you notice, this pod IP can I access from outside the cluster. So this is inside the container in a pod. So this is outside the cluster in my machine. Let me try that. So it's actually just stuck. I can probably try tell it to see port 80 is possible. No, it should actually come immediately. So this is because the network that my computer, my host machine is in, is different from the network that the cluster is in. So my host machine is having all these network interfaces. So and is connected to different networks, but my cluster is in actually the network. This network, I mean, this is one of the networks the cluster is in, which is 192.168.64.0 is the network address. So if I go into one of the worker nodes, right? For example, say worker 0, multipass shell this. So I'm inside one of the worker nodes. I have curl. I can access. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can access the pod IP from here. If you notice here. So this is still inside the cluster because this is inside the worker node which belongs to the cluster, so still inside the cluster, and you can access any pods from any worker node. That should be possible, or else things don't work. So this should be possible, but outside the cluster, no. So pod IPs are very specific to inside the cluster usually. They are private IPs and only accessible inside the cluster. So this shouldn't have been the last thing, but the last thing that I'm showing to you is port forwarding a pod. So I showed you that I cannot access the pod IP from here, but to be able to do that, I will do this. So I'm going to port forward. There's a concept called port forward in Kubernetes, where you can actually open up a port in your machine, which will actually redirect all your requests to that port in your machine to the port in a pod, ports in a pod or port in a pod. So I'm going to actually port forward the port 4444. Let's see, Dobby 1. I forgot the no. I think Dobby 1. So let's just see the help, right? I forgot the command. So this is how you port forward a pod, it seems. So let me just get that. So uh, so this looks like listening on ports, two ports, 5000 and 6000, locally, and forwarding data to or from the ports 5000 and 6000 in the pod. So also you can, okay, we'll probably get to that. Let's just, okay, so there's no my pod over here, right? So instead it's going to be Dobby pod 1, Dobby 1, and I want to access port 4444 alone this time. So you can see that the port forwarding happens from the IPv4 version 4 IP, which is 127.0.0.1, and IPv6 IP for port 4444 to the pods port 4444. Let's access, I'll access from here, right? Let's access the pod IP that I had now with 4444. Oh, sorry, not pod IP, sorry. Instead, it should be my local host because I have done port forwarding from my local host or from my local machine to the pod. So I don't need the pod IP now. Cool. So you can see that I can get the response from the pod. So that's a good start. So how do I get port 80 also now? So I put port 80 also for Nginx, but here you can see unable to listen on port 80. Listeners failed to create the following errors: unable to create listener, error listener TCP 4.1, permission denied, unable to create listener. So there's a permission issue. So you can actually run this with sudo, uh, and it will work. Or what you can do is you can mention to actually run, in your local, you can open up a different port which doesn't need sudo access, because 80 is actually within the registered ports, reserved ports. So by default, the machine does not give access to use it or listen at it. But any port number after 1024 should be easily possible to listen on, unless it's already being used by some other service. So in my local, port 8080 is open, I'm sure about that. And I'm saying, uh, from my local port, local host, or my local machine port 8080, forward all the requests to that port, to port 80 in the container, in the pod actually. And whatever container is listening inside the pod at port 80 will get that request. So I did that, and now I can actually access localhost 8080, and it tells me that there was an issue. Why? Looks like there was some issue with that. Oh, sorry. So Dobby 1 does not have any Nginx running inside it. Dobby 1 is just one container. So the connection was refused because of that. Let's get Dobby with Nginx to do our port forwarding. Uh, yep. Now it should work. Cool. So now we can see Nginx containers response over here. So that's how you port forward a pod's ports. Uh, so yep. So those are the demos that I wanted to show, and that's all I have. Thank you.